All right, we're here with Tarleton football head coach Cary Fowler. Now we're going to take a look at some of the defensive signings we have for the 2012 class.
Ross, we had to make, we really had to sign. We talked about earlier as a complete team, but defensively, next year we've got a lot of seniors that we'll have several seniors that will play for us next year. We're very young behind there, and especially with the two All-American kids that are sophomores, be juniors next year. But we needed to sign. We needed to do some big things in the defensive line, and then in linebacking core, guys that could play linebacker and move down, and guys that could play linebacker and also a defensive back type, what we call the hybrid defensive player. And then we had to sign some really good corners. We like to sign corners and move them around a little bit. But Ronnie Famola is probably our biggest sign defensively right now. Ronnie is here on campus, and he played at Western Hills Community College in California. He was a four-star Rivals player coming out of high school, running back, linebacker, safety, and as his Samoan heritage, he just started to get bigger, and has moved to the defensive line. And he's 6'3", 280 pounds, 290 pounds, tremendous quickness. What happened to him was he had an ACL injury. And, he had every Pac-10 school around. He was on a Pac-10 visit the week before he signed here. And it's awesome to get a kid like him. He was an awesome kid that, I've been in the league longer than anybody is in the Lone Star Conference consecutive years now. And I've seen some great players. Ronnie has the potential to be one of the best defensive tackles I've seen in this league in a long, long time. Ryan Watkins, kid we signed out of Carver Riverside in Fort Worth. I fell in love with this kid on tape because he played defensive line, active player, strong, uses his hands. And then they said, Coach, you don't see his other highlights, and they put him on playing slot receiver. And they list him as a tight end. He's a slot receiver. And, he averaged 30 yards a catch, and I think 4 or 5 touchdowns. He's in wrestling right now for the first year. He's a 19-5 record last time I talked to him on Saturday when he was out on his visit. Really, really like him. He was my number one young defensive line tackle because of his athleticism on the mat and playing wide receiver and defensive line. What an unusual combination for a kid that's 250 pounds. He's got tremendous upside to him. Jake Blunt out of Marcus High School. He's a 6'4", 215-pound kid that is going to get big. Broad shoulders. You watch him play on tape, and his passion, his emotion. Had 9 sacks and was an all-district player on a good Flower Mound Marcus team. The sky's the limit for him. He kind of reminds me, of a Jake Rowe type player that we had here in the past. He's a little bit bigger than what Jake was coming out of high school, but he plays with that kind of emotion, and I'm really excited about getting him. Damian Ward, kid out of Skyline High School out of Dallas, was the sophomore of the year. And you know what kind of football they play over there, and you've seen a lot of those guys saying on the ESPN News the other day, which was an awesome one. Damian, I fell in love with this kid when he came on campus. I really like his demeanor. He's going to be a gigantic kid. He's only 6'1", and that's probably why we had a shot at him. He's 220 pounds. But his explosion off the football and what he can do and the intensity, defensive line, those kids that we signed at the defensive line have really played. Those 4 guys, and we're very young at defensive line. We got Brian Ford and Rufus and Chase Bowers are only seniors up front. Other than that, they're all sophomores or freshmen that are coming back, and adding these 4 guys to it. They're going to push. These 4 guys now will come in and push, for a starting position. And it's going to be interesting to see how those guys fight for their job, and these guys come in with the enthusiasm. Linebacking core, we signed 3. Ethan Horton out of Brownwood. Ethan was an early grad. We actually could get him in school right now. We weren't able to do that. Him just signing 1-5. We beat guys that there was a distinct difference. Everybody knows Division II. We don't have full scholarships. We were able to, the kid wanted to be at Tarleton so bad that he was willing to give up more because he felt like less was more coming to Tarleton. And there's no doubt, because Tarleton State sells itself, and that's the thing about it. We get them on campus, they fall in love with the place. Ethan is an all-state linebacker and plays with great intensity, and he's been on both teams. Was an all-conference linebacker for them when they won. I think they won the state championship a year ago. Great young man, good mom, and he comes from a football family. I'm really excited about him. He could feasibly play for us next year. Anthony Lee out of Trinity Christian in Cedar Hill. 6'2", and we got him at 210. He's probably about 220 now. Boy, is just a solid young man. I like the way he played. We're looking for a guy to be more of a Mike linebacker that can run like what we call our 4-2 linebackers. And I think that Anthony's going to be able to grow into that just because of his build and his barrel-chested kid that is really going to grow. And again, is an all-state football player. There's 2 all-state players. And you come to DJ Haynes, who played at Euless Trinity, was one of their best linebackers. And all over the field, tremendous speed. A linebacker who runs track makes great linebacker, and that's what he does. He has tremendous nose for the football, knows what it's like to be physical. Just to make it through the practices at Euless Trinity High School, those kids are very physical, and DJ does that. I mean, I really, really, really like him. His speed. The other guys have got great speed, but DJ brings an element that we can play in that 4-2 linebacker. 4-2-5 we play in. He can play a hybrid strong safety linebacker, but he's so good in the box. Very similar to Wiley, but he's 6 foot, and he may be a little bit taller than 6 foot. So really excited about getting him too. I'll move on to our defensive backs. Boy, there's several dandies in here that I really like. Robert Atkinson out of Corsicana. Just to be able to get him is a miracle in itself. He's a 2-time defending state champion in the 100 meters in 4A. And anytime you win the 100 meters in 4A in the state of Texas as a sophomore and as a junior, he's going to defend his title. There's a lot of track guys. If you read the Star Telegram this morning, you'd have seen that they talked about, because they had a picture of Matthew Bishop in there. I was reading it, and it's talking about that Jonathan Gray is going to try to win the state championship. Well, this is the guy he lost to in the state both times. Really like what he brings. He can play offense. He can play defense. I like his body. He's strong. He's physical. He's a 10-5 guy. He's going to run track here for us. We're just really, really excited about Robert and what he can do. And he's a great young man. Has had a tough life, and he's had some adversity sit in his life. And boy, he's dealt with it with flying colors. Deveron Dean, all-state corner, played corner safety at Tyler Chapel Hill, and just connections that you have in life. You're able to reel some guys in that you probably shouldn't have a chance at getting. This would be one of them. His dad's one of my college best friends. And one school went in to recruit him, and he said, "You played at Murray State?" He said, "Yep." He said, "Was Fowler over there when you played there?" He says, "He sure was. He was sitting right beside me when I got a phone call that Deveron was born." I was with his father the night that he got his phone call. He was born. His mom and dad, she stayed here to have the baby, and he had signed. They came there, and mom and dad have been together for all those years. And it was good to see Sabrina and Lamont come up here with their son and be able to recruit a guy that had Division I offers that we were able to get to Tarleton State. And he comes with great character, And I told him that one thing. He's here not because his dad was one of my best friends. He's here because he's one of the best football players in the state of Texas. He's the one that caused the fumble in the state championship game and recovered it, that they went on to beat Alvarado. We know somebody from there that was upset that afternoon, as I know Nate Burrell was upset with that, but he was the guy who caused that final play. Daniel Adams out of Waldrop High School. The kid can run track. He's got great speed. He played running back only the last 5 games and rushed for over 600 yards. He's an unbelievable defensive back. Makes things happen. I mean, he's an all-state kid. Here's the most staggering stat. He's number 13 out of 630. And a 4.13 on a weight. I mean, he is a tremendous student. And, it's just, when I was talking to him, I was like, this is the kind of kid that we got to have here. He knew everything that he wanted to do down the line. And physically where he is, he could be able to play for us. Deveron at 195, he'll be maybe our biggest defensive back coming in here. Because his dad's been his coach. His dad's now the principal. And Robert Atkinson, who, with that kind of speed, those guys can come in and compete for jobs with our defensive backs right now. The last 2 we got here, Brandon Coverdale. Played at Stephenville. When I watched Braden play the whole time, I just knew that he was going to make a great football player. I did not know that we had a chance in him because he is 6'1". He is 215 pounds right now. He is a big, good-looking. Braden is going to be a guy that can buy into our system over a 5-year or 4-year span that can really make a difference. If you watch Stephenville in the playoffs, this kid had 5 interceptions and 2 returns for a touchdown in the playoffs alone. He's a big play football player that loves the game, plays with great passion. And I ask kids questions, what they can do that would – I don't have an official visit. I have a job interview when they come on campus. And I want to know certain things about kids and how they answer certain things. Braden said some of the greatest things in my interview that I had heard about the reasons that he can help us win a national championship. And when he walked out, I just had to shut the door and say, wow, for a minute. You know why he made the plays. He's a big play guy. I look for great things. I think that his body's going to take over and he'll move to a and he played a little bit of an outside linebacker, but I think that's probably what he'll end up being. But he plays with great intensity, and he's a great man. Again, 4.0 in the classroom. He's an all-state performer. If you look at the number of all-state kids, it's phenomenal that we were able to get them this many all-state players in one signing class. Jeremy Lewis out of Euless Trinity, again, track guy, will come here and also, wants to compete in track. And he had a chance to go to Baylor as running track and played at Euless Trinity. He was first-team all-district. And matter of fact, he was first-team all-district a couple years. And we went and watched him play in the high school game, and I was with Coach Kofer, and I said, boy, I wonder where he's going. And you're just watching this kid play. Look at the intensity that he plays at, how physical he is. He competes on every play, and Jeremy really impressed me. You're sitting in the stands like, well, I wonder where he's going. And then all of a sudden you find out that you got a shot to get him to Tarleton State. We were, and that comes from, this whole signing class, just to be able to get a chance. And, kind of wrap up the whole thing here, when you recruit against Division II teams, and I think the top dogs in our league is really starting to do this. When you recruit against Division II teams, you're going to get what we say are Division II players. You got to be willing to lose guys to the mid-major Division I's. You got to be willing to lose them to Division I AA's. That's what we did. We stepped out on a limb. We went in, if you look at the signing class, we went into small towns and found big kids that were only being recruited by the Division I schools. And then when they didn't make it, Tarleton State had a chance. And that was I think that was a difference. That was a change we made over the, and that comes with 2 years of being the head coach and trying to pinpoint where we need to go to be able to get guys that you can't find in the big cities. Because you put some of these kids in the Metroplex, you put them in Houston, you put them in San Antonio, and some of them came from those places. Well, I understand that. But you put some of these kids in those areas, we wouldn't have a shot at them. And so we kind of hit little towns and places that we knew people, and everybody that we recruited has a Tarleton connection. And when you got a Tarleton connection working for you, and it's amazing. And that's what I told him. You come here, that Tarleton connection you had that connected you to us is the same one that's going to connect you to the job world because of what the Tarleton State alum and what Tarleton State University means. And you've seen that happen time after time and time again. And I think that was one of the most impressive things that the kids seen was the just the connections that Tarleton State has beyond its athletic department.
Well, you have an impressive list of young men that'll be joining us. What do they need to do from now until September in order to get on the field?
That's probably the greatest question that has ever been asked to me, because I know that it's never been asked. What guys do is this: they train as hard as they can for their senior year in high school. They give everything they got, and then when they get in that situation, it's like, I made it. What do I do now? We wanted to target kids that have track, that have baseball, 3-sport players. Most of our guys are 3-sport players because they have to work harder than they've ever worked before to be able to play here. Because our guys, I told them, I said, our guys will do more in a day's time than you'll do in a week. The intensity of our workouts here, quadruple them to the intensity of your workouts. And if you're not working at that level, you won't be able to play. I need them to get into school. I need them to come to summer school. We can't pay for summer school for those freshmen, but I need them to get into school. I need them to be part of their teammates and just understanding where we need to go. But they really have to work harder than they've ever worked. But if they're working out with their high school team, they're not going to reach where we're at right now because they're not meeting where we're at right now. That's the biggest thing. And if they do those things and they run track, they play baseball, and they're in wrestling, and they do all the things that they're supposed to be doing, plus working out, staying in an athletic class, and being associated with those things, doing the workouts that we think they need to do before they get here. If they do those things, they'll have a chance to play. If they don't, it'll be hard for them to play here. So that I think that's the realness of it. And I told them, if you don't do these things that we asked you to do, it's going to be hard for you to play here. But when you stay, this is the standard. If you don't meet the standard, it's going to be long days. And I think every one of these kids will meet the standard for us.
Okay. Last question. What do you think the Tarleton fans need to know about this signing class?
I think they need to know that we've upgraded in a lot of areas. Not only athletically, size-wise, but I think if I backed out and I was sitting in the stands to watch these kids and that I was a fan of what they do, if I'm a fan of this football team that we have right now, you see the changes that have been made, and you see that kids are graduating, with 10 of them graduating in December. You see that there's 41 of them with a 2.95 or better out of the 90. You see those things. You'll see the same thing out of these guys. Great character. The involvement in the community that they will have. They will have a personal relationship with anybody that's willing to talk to them anywhere, because they'll be doing community service work. They'll be doing those things. And I think that what people will see is not only are they great athletes, and not only are they going to be great football players, but they're going to be great ambassadors of this university. If they're not that, then they can't play here. And I tell them, first thing, here's the standard of what happens. If you can't be part of this, then you need to go somewhere else. If you don't want to be part of where we're going and what we're trying to do, if you don't want to be part of the vision of Tarleton State University and the football program, and you're not striving for excellence, do us the favor and don't come. And I think that's the biggest thing that we have for them right now, is they got to understand that, hey, look, I've bought into what Coach said. It ain't going to be easy. And he's going to demand greatness out of them. You demand perfection. I tell them this the last thing I tell them. I'm going to demand perfection that you'll never be able to reach. But if you don't want somebody to demand your greatness, then we don't want you here anyway. And all these kids say, Coach, we're part of it. And I think that's what if I'm a fan, I think the commitment that you'll see these kids make will be phenomenal over their 4-year span, on and off the field and in the classroom.